There was an article on BeliefNet that said 6 ways women have an affair. No matter how you rationalize it, these actions are just as damaging as cheating. Okay, that's the thing I want you to keep in mind. No matter how you rationalize it, these actions are just as damaging as cheating. And 2 things I want you to think about. One, is that true for the things we're going to say? And 2, why would these only apply to women? Those are the 2 questions.
And cheating, I'm assuming they mean like an intimate relationship.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Okay.
Biblically knowing.
Okay. The last thing any loving husband wants to hear is that their wife has been unfaithful, but the truth is you've probably been unfaithful and may not have even realized it.
Oh, no.
You've mysteriously been unfaithful.
Oh, dear.
Your intention doesn't matter.
At the soda fountain. It isn't just sleeping with someone other than your spouse. Affairs involve our deepest emotions, and before we know it, we are so far gone, our marriage can't recover. Okay, again, hold on to that and see if these things match that. Here are 6 ways women have an affair. Some are pretty clear and others less obvious. Isn't that the introduction to someone who wrote a bad article?
Yes, you may, yeah, right.
Okay,
Fuzzy.
number 1, daydreaming.
What?
What?
Keep your knickers
How dare
on.
you?
Expound.
Daydreaming may seem harmless. This sounds like people drinking caffeinated beverages. Black tea may be harmful at first. Daydreaming may seem harmless at first, especially if it doesn't involve sexual lust. But if you find yourself daydreaming about a person that isn't your spouse, okay, there's some more specificity. It's not only wrong, but also problematic. Infidelity begins in the mind. When you daydream about another man, you are allowing him to replace your husband in your thoughts, and that is being unfaithful. What may have started as an innocent daydream can cause great strain in marriage. More times than not, the reality doesn't live up to the storyline playing in your head. The more you obsess over the faultless man in your head, the more faults you find in your husband in real life.
Yeah. Okay, so this is true for men and women both.
Yeah.
I don't know that this, men are just lazier, right? Like, if and this is broad sweeping, advice or whatever, but generally, ladies, they will put thought and intention into like a man that they will think of in their head and then compare their schlub of a husband to him and go, yeah, that guy's never going to make it up, right? The dude doesn't have the imagination or the attitude to try to dream up a woman, so he'll just go find one on the internet that's willing to be naked, and then try to compare his wife to now this woman that has not gone through any trials or hardships with him at all, and go, well, now his wife is not measuring up. Like, both sexes are equally guilty of this, and it is odd to call the women out specifically for the daydreaming. Although I guess it really depends on how much time you're spending on it, right? Like, a quick thought in your head, I don't think qualifies. We're getting really close to pharisaical territory here. Like, things that God did not say are a problem, and we're calling them like red letter, big banner problems.
Yeah, I could see this as maybe red flags. I could see it as whoa back,
Caution.
Yeah, caution.
Yes. Yep.
Slow down, Nelly. But I have a hard time saying you have been unfaithful now because you had a daydream about the guy at work that always smells good and dresses nice and speaks properly and never itches his rear end.
Right.
That you
Does
see.
his buttocks never itch? I'm amazed.
Right. And actually, that's the place where stuff starts to creep in, is you start getting interactions with people that aren't your spouse, that aren't in situations that your spouse is in,
Right,
and they come out smelling like roses. Like, hey, that guy never stinks up the bathroom. Well, you've not been next to him when he was taking a dump. So,
Right.
is this a fair comparison? You live with this other man.
Now, to be fair, there are many broken families because people allowed those daydreams to go further.
Agreed.
So that's why I say it is a caution. It's a red flag.
Yep.
It's a, take note.
Yep.
Step back. But I would have a hard time saying, oh, now you've been unfaithful.
This is the same. This is not the same.
Yeah, you better go to God with the altar and repent in tears and weeping. I'd say just start going the other direction.
Yeah. And I agree. And I think the broad takeaway is to Dan's point. Look, it's a caution, and whatever it is that you're in a marriage, and so it's time to fix that one, to work on it, to give it the effort that it needs, and just almost, if you're ever comparing the person you're married to someone you're not married to, just recognize this is not even a remotely fair comparison. One, you shouldn't be doing it, but where you're being deceived it's not a like for like. There's a difference between spending your whole life making important decisions, having children, sorting out bills, sharing the bathroom, dealing with terrible in-laws or whatever with a person, and then someone who bears no responsibility for any of those things to you gets to float in and float out of your life with
At
some
their
sort of
best.
magic.
That's
Yes, it's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what looks really cool? A sports car. You know what sucks when you got to go to the hardware store? A sports car.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, it does get to be that type of comparison where you start looking at other people who outside of your marriage and be like, you know, look how great they are in this situation. But like now just try to put groceries in that sports car. Try to put all your winter gear plus your 2 kids in the sports car. Now it doesn't seem like it's holding up quite as cool, does it? Like, so you're running it through a really unfair filter.
Yes.
And maybe this is an opportunity to say, because you can't help it. Like, if your mind's wandering there, maybe it's a time to say, hey, I better sit down and talk to Billy and tell him why I'm thinking and why I'm thinking this. And like,
Yep.
maybe we should have a conversation. Not a necessarily you need to measure up, but here's where I must be lacking in our relationship and have that work that out. I mean, because you're having that for some reason. There's some reason you're having that daydream.
Yeah, it's okay to address a leaky pipe without going, I'm going to move.
Yeah, right.
I'm out of here.
Okay, number 2, having physical intimacy with someone who's not your spouse compared to letting friends dictate your relationship.
Oh boy.
On same level?
Letting friends dictate your relationship.
Here's the detail. When you surround yourself with friends who don't respect your relationship and those who aren't secure about their own relationships, your marriage will quickly fall into a toxic place. Again, I'm going to tell you this is not limited to the ladies. Guys are probably not as direct about this, but like you can have poor fella friends around you who encourage you in wrong things.
Who are either hunting every day or watching games every day or
Yeah.
or they doing their whatever their hobby is.
That's right.
That interferes. Yeah.
But my wife don't give me no trouble. I get to hunt all the time, and like I just make sure I bring home the bills. This man is not the same thing as someone else going, hey, you should actively seek someone else, but he's harming you in the same way. And so I just be careful.
Yeah.
We are who we hang around. I don't know about that. It's important that we are surrounding ourselves with people who are uplifting and encouraging. While it's important to create time for your girlfriends, you shouldn't be spending more time with them than your husband. These kinds of friends who throw caution to the wind aren't there to support you, but to sabotage your marriage. I'm going to ask you this question. First of all, who's this written by? Dude or lady? What do we think?
Lady.
I'm gonna say lady.
It is a lady, Leslie White. This almost, I could be wrong about this, but this seems like it could be true, but very caricature-ish. Doesn't it? Like there's an underlying thing that needs addressed and talked through that reasonable people can have challenges on, but this almost seems cartoonish where people get to dismiss it because it's so goofy and shallow.
Maybe you don't know the depth of it because you're not a lady.
Maybe it's
we
not.
should have waited till we had a lady in here.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Okay, I'm gonna open you up to this, ladies. As we're talking through this, like maybe I'm being too gracious, you conniving spiders, and this is happening in your day-to-day lives. But let me know. Maybe because like I've seen character or like cartoonish representations of dudes, and I think it's detrimental to talking about how to mature manliness when we act like the only caricature is a dude who sits on his butt all the time. That's not the only option. And so okay, I don't know. They just seem a little bit shallow. Number 3, not creating boundaries with people of the opposite sex. One of the most vital components to creating a happy, healthy, and fulfilling relationship is to become a master of setting boundaries in your marriage. It's especially important that you create boundaries with male coworkers, friends, and acquaintances. If you don't, you may quickly find yourself in a vulnerable position. What may begin as an innocent friendship can easily spiral into an emotional or physical affair. The next thing you know, you are thinking about this man more and wishing you could spend more intimate time with him.
And the daydreaming returns.
There it is. The thinking about the man. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm helping with this orphanage in Africa, and there's a couple over there, a married couple who are the directors there, and I'm like the director here. So there's a lot of communication going on back and forth.
Yep.
I have a relationship. I met her first, right? And so I have somewhat of a relationship with her over the last few years. We've met and talked, and now we're like in a working relationship. And so we've been doing a lot of talking, like as we're kind of ramping into this thing.
Yep.
And it occurred to me 2 days ago, I thought, I probably ought to start a new conversation thread, on Messenger that includes him.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, we're not doing anything, but just because, just be safe. And so I started to think, hey, blah, blah, blah. And she says, yeah, I've been showing him. I figured she was showing him because they're in partnership together.
Yep.
And neither one of us were having an affair. We never crossed the line. But we also said, hey, gosh, maybe we should also be intelligent and wise.
Yep.
And yeah, I think this article is going a little. I just don't agree with them, but I do in heart.
Yeah, right. It can caution.
Yeah,
It's something, and we had this conversation. I want to say 6 or 7 shows ago, which is like, it is a disservice to position either men or women to be constantly thinking that they are like, it treats the opposite gender as a completely sexual aggressor by acting like you cannot have normal relationships, kind interactions, hey, how's it goings with people of the opposite gender. Like, I think it causes us, in our attempt to make sure that people aren't treated as objects, you turn them into objects as if they are wandering threats. But like anything, okay, this is going to seem like a bad comparison, but like a donut on a table, like, can be a risk to you if you decide to overindulge. If you take it outside of its boundary and have 15 instead of treating it within its proper boundary and eat 1 and maybe a 2, anything can be misused. And so you got to know where your risks are. You got to know the thing that says, hey, I should not eat anymore, and you do it anyway. That's a problem. And so, like, so I think caution is appropriate everywhere. Using people is always wrong, but like acting like, I can't talk to you because you've got a bra on, that you are a total risk to me and you are just an aggressive sexual object. Like, we're missing out.
Yeah, I can't be trusted.
Yeah,
and neither can you.
Yeah, right. Because what are you going to do with the freedom that God gave you, right? Like when God releases this sin from owning you, I always remember the thing that I've always prayed for is like for God to help me to see women as He sees them, right? Not as like a sinful, broken Mike would see them. Because like I don't want to not have interactions with them, right? Like I don't want to have to set up a bunch of ridiculous boundaries. I will until God can work that out of me, right? But when God started to work that out of me, I'm like, look, I want to be able to have conversations with people who want to know about Jesus, and whether that be a man or a woman or whatever. Like we start talking about some certain stuff, I'm going to bail, and be like, look, this is probably not the right conversation for me. But like, I just, it just sounded so stupid to be like, well, if someone's, came to you and they really wanted to talk about Jesus and like they were a woman, you're like, hold on, let me go get my wife. I can't help you, right? Like, that's terrible. That just doesn't sound right to me. So, like, it was always a God redeem this brokenness in me, not help me to set up proper boundaries to keep the woman zombies away from me so I don't act a fool, you know?
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, whatever. Let's go with just be wise about it.
Yeah.
And I think in certain situations, like, Dan, like what you're talking about, like, there's just a value in transparency, not because there's any particular risk, but because, like, if anybody were to ever think there was a particular risk, we can easily demonstrate. It's why we keep the books.
Exactly. Well, like, our conversation, hey, are you going to the conference? What hotel are you going to be at? Like, all of a sudden you're like, okay, that's not where any of this was going, but let's like just include and I'm sitting there with my wife and we're having the hey, I'm going to ask him, blah, 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 Right. But it was just like, it's just better if we're just all involved with this.
Yes. Yep. That's right. There's not a harm in it. And frankly, what it does is it protects against, like, I know what someone could accuse me of to try to take something that is pure and make it look like it's rough. Man, I don't want any part of that.
Nope.
Yep. I don't know what number we want. Focusing too heavily on yourself, equivalent to cheating? Next week on Geraldo. Contrary to popular belief, you can be unfaithful to your spouse with yourself.
Okay, continue. Maybe it'll vet itself
This is
out.
jacking with my mind.
Don't go there.
Who's
How would you imagine having that conversation? Look, man, I need to talk to you for a minute. And all of a sudden the dude's stomach is like turning over, like, oh no, here it comes. Look, I've been seeing another person. Me.
I really like me.
Oh no.
I've been thinking about me all the time. Daydreaming even. Contrary to popular belief, you can be unfaithful to your spouse with yourself. How you might ask? When you begin to choose self-gratification over spouse gratification, you're being unfaithful. There's not, selfish maybe, self-centered maybe.
Yeah.
Unfaithful? I get, like, why? Okay, here's the question. Why are we stretching this? Is it because is this person trying to make the case that, like, you're not taking some of what would be considered minor, like, cautions seriously enough, so then you drag it over into the camp as being the same thing? Does that feel like what's happening here?
I think I think maybe it feels like they're writing a counterbalance to most articles that are written about men, who are way more obvious about the things that they're doing. And I feel like she's trying to speak to women's internal thoughts and feelings towards how these things, like what appears to be harmless, ends up being harmful when made into a pattern instead of a deviation.
I would feel better if the posturing of the article was, hey, you think you would never do this.
Here's how it happened to me. That would be a great article.
Yeah,
Someone
here's
said,
how
here's how I did it."
doors to
Here's how we can
unfaithfulness.
start. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That'd be way different, as opposed to making it sound like it's the same thing.
I mean, my wife hates it when I go to Hoo Hot. I love Hoo Hot.
Yeah.
Because I make it really spicy and garlicky, and she can smell it when she walks in the door. She's like, I know where you went to lunch. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I used to just not go.
Yeah.
For quite a bit. And at some point, about 5 years ago, I thought, I'm going to go. I really like Hoo Hot. No, and I go by myself usually because, it's just how the schedule works. I don't know. I don't think of that as being unfaithful to my wife. And she doesn't either. Now it's kind of a joke.
Right.
But that's totally selfish. 100%.
Right.
I love every moment of it. And,
Yeah.
and I know she's going to hate every moment of the next 2 days. But
isn't that the thing, though? Like, you didn't marry yourself, right? And so, like, you agreed to be in a relationship with a completely different person.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, where parts of you, where God says spiritually he sees you as one, like, you have two very unique parts that God has brought together. And, like, I don't want to erase every part of my wife.
Yeah,
like, I want her to be independent enough that, like, she's different than me and I can enjoy her company. I spend all day with myself. I want to hang out with someone different, and you can't be different if you're all of a sudden trying to make up to a painting that your spouse has in mind for you to match. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I do think it is a maturity in a marriage relationship to, like, there's a point where good people who love each other try to make each other the best that they can be. And so sometimes it takes encouragement, and you are trying, like, they're trying to change you. My wife has spent a lot of time trying to change me, as she should. There's parts of me that needed to change. And then there are some parts of me that are like at some point, you do start to lose you. Like, you're not you anymore. And, like, you could marry yourself back to cheating. This on cheating with yourself business. But there is something that says, boy, this sounds like super elementary schools. Embrace your differences. But, like, we're different.
Yeah.
And is there a way to look and say, there's a place for how do we enrich and improve each other, and there's a place for saying, can we be happy that we are distinct and allow that to influence each other well also?
Yeah.
And so I think there's a maturity in that that is difficult to get to, because you never want to feel the sense that, like, hey man, I'm turning them over into the thing of which I thought they could be better, but really you're saying, look, they're still them. I want them to be them. I want to express to them who they are, and find a way to support that while also helping them be the best of them.
Right. And like, just to tack on to that, because this is the downfall of a ton of marriages, right? Like, you need to give people room to think about themselves, because, like, I can't, like, as a spouse, you can't carry their happiness, right? Like, you just can't, right? Like, pure joy comes from God, but, like, you're happy, that comes from you. Right, if you sack your spouse with it and go, well, they're not making me happy anymore, that wasn't never their job, and frankly, they can't hold it anyway. It's too heavy of a load, right? And so, like, it is your job to know you and spend time on you, and like, grab some fulfillment of the things that God created you specifically, apart from your marriage and your role as a mom and a dad and whatever. Right, God made you unique and special and gifted in ways, and, like, you can't just shove all that to the side and expect to be like a blank person that carries the wills and wants of people right around you. That's not what God made you for.
Maybe what throws this article off for us is I think we all three have wives that are not selfish people.
Right.
Like my wife's the opposite of this. I mean, like, she will do anything for everybody and not even think of herself ever.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, on her birthday, we went to, like, a few years ago, we kind of laugh at this now, to Red Lobster. She hates seafood. It was her birthday. And she's like, what should we do for her birthday? And I was joking, we're going to Red Lobster. She's like, okay. And I'm like, and we ended up going there, and then they're like, what? it's your birthday.
Right.
But that's a pretty good example of just her personality. So I'm sure there are people on the other side that will go overboard. But so that's why I'm pushing back. I guess I just don't. I haven't experienced that.
And I think it is that, like, again, this is a right thing to delve into. This is a right caution in your marriage. I think you need to be cautious that you are living a marriage that does have you thinking of the person that you're married to, serving the person that you're married to. I just, like, this shortcoming is something that you mature from. I'm not sure I would put it on the level of, hey, this person was unfaithful to me because they were self-centered.
Right.
It's something to discuss.
I feel this one's the least of. The other ones you could talk me into, and like I think they are legit warning signs. I don't know about this one.
Yeah. Let's see. Keeping secrets. When you keep secrets from your husband and don't consult him daily, you are creating distance from your husband, which can eventually lead to separation. The secrets always begin small. They may show up in the form of little white lies. You start telling yourself that he doesn't need to know about the flirty text your guy friend sent you. Okay, this is way different.
Right. By the way, a man has crossed the boundaries and sent me a flirty text. Yeah, your husband should know about that.
Why can't I have a lock on my phone, you wonder? He doesn't need to know my private business and who I've been texting. Despite how good a job you're doing rationalizing or hiding this, it will come back to haunt you. Now, I'm going to say there's probably a difference between keeping secrets and, like, I mean, my wife could go, hey, I texted 38 people today. I'm like, excellent. Keep up the good. I mean, did you enjoy it? Like, I don't care.
Did you tell them about Jesus?
But think about what a healthy relationship like marriage looks like. Let's say some rando girl texts me this weird flirty thing, and I'm like, sweet Moses. Right? And so the first thing I do when I go home, I go, check this out, woman.
Right.
What am I supposed to do about this? Isn't this awkward? And then she laughs and goes, oh, for heaven's sakes. Right? Like, this is all comedy because she's not threatened by it.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? It happened, but it's not a threat to her. Our marriage
Look
is
who
what
wants
our
to be my
marriage is.
friend on Snapchat.
Yeah, like, okay, so that they're going to have to go, right? And she would either go, yeah, it's probably time for her to go, or, now hold on. Why don't you try responding in this way and make sure it's what you think it is or whatever. You know, it's like just a voice of reason, like, as a friend and as my spouse. Like, what do I do about this weirdness? I don't want to be talking to no flirty woman, you know?
Right. I might say something that I don't even realize is either being unnecessarily rude or leading people on. I have no literal idea. You tell me what to say. Yeah.
But, I mean, this is legit advice, right? Like, I honestly don't understand married couples that have locks on their phone. I don't understand people that let kids have locks on their phone. There's just no reason for that, right? Like, there is no amount of privacy that is necessary, especially on a device, that can be broken, stolen, or whatever. And one that especially if you have younger teenage kids, right? Like, I'm all for allowing your kids to start having things to themselves. You don't have to be all up in their business all the time, right? But, like, push comes to shove, I should be able to unlock your phone. Right? I really should be able to answer a phone, shut off an alarm that you've ignored or whatever, because you don't have anything to hide from me. And the same is true in a marriage as it is with your kids. Like, just do that right. If this is you, stop it right now. Both of you set your lock to the exact same thing, right? You're both of your phones unlocked with the same pin pad.
Yeah.
And just get it done. Don't be living a life like this. Don't be taking your phone with you in the bathroom. Don't be worried about your spouse is going to find out something that they shouldn't. Like, live your life honestly, for heaven's sakes. That's what freedom's about.
I mean, how firmly are you saying we can't Candy Crush in the bathroom? Dan, is that what you were going to ask?
Don't take it because you could take it in there to do some games if you want, but don't take it because you're hiding it from your spouse. Let's put it that way.
You about lost Dan and I for a minute there.
Can you take the VR into the bathroom?
Dude, if
What's
you
going
VR
on in
that
there?
toilet- what if something scares you? You got to stand up and be like, what's that?
Whoa!
I can explain what happened in
And
here.
someone did the Rocket Man in here.
My clan clashed with someone. Okay. Let's see. Here we go. Next. Is this the last one? Yeah, okay. Technology. The heavy use of technology in your marriage can be problematic for a number of reasons. First, it stifles good communication. If you're one of those couples who goes to dinner and you both immediately pull out your phones, you may be more focused on what's going on in the world than what's going on in your marriage. Infidelity. Secondly, technology is an easy access point to cheating. Social media provides a space for not only public messaging, but also private messaging.
So does church.
Right.
I mean-
and conversations in the grocery store aisle.
Yeah.
My husband's not here.
I could have sworn I kind of agreed with one of these when I read it the first time.
Let's see. Talk to your spouse and ask him what you're currently doing or what you could potentially doing that would make him feel threatened, disconnected from you, or cheated on.
Okay, yeah. So this is the problem. This is the same problem with the quote we're going to talk about, right? This is why Jesus focuses on the condition of your heart and not so much on your outside actions, because your heart will drive outside actions, right?
Yeah.
Is a phone or having social media off the bat a bad thing. It's neither one. It's neither good nor bad. It's innocuous. Like almost everything that they're talking about is innocuous.
Yeah.
It really depends on what the intention and the position of your heart is, right? Could I get a flirty text from someone that I didn't intend? Absolutely I could. Right? The minute I hide it and keep it secret means it means something to me, and I want to hide it from my wife. Now,
Yeah.
my heart's wrong, right? But the fact that I got the text and I showed my wife and said, "What am I do about this weirdo?" You know what I'm saying? Like we've crossed no boundaries. That like we're introducing a bunch of pharisaical behavior as if the heart is not what matters. And like it's why Jesus focuses on it and said, "This is what I want to know. If you've thought about killing your brother, now we need to talk about where your heart's at, right? Not whether you did it or not." That's everything in this list. Your heart, it matters where your heart's at. All these things are like, by the time it's gotten to these indications, your heart's already not where it's supposed to be.
Right. All right. Yeah. It's too bad because like actually I think this there's some of the conversations that this article starts are good conversations to have.
Yeah.
It's just framed in such like a Sally Jesse Raphael framework that like it's easy to dismiss. Oh, I'm not doing that, so I'm not cheating. Like, well, can we start with whether this is healthy or not?
Right.
What a miss.
Yeah,
That's
agreed.
unfortunate.